What's up, everybody? We're going back to the bullpen tonight, but I've got a special guest with me tonight. Sitting in for Mike Stanton is our friend Clay Hensley. Hey, hit it.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk your back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That is right, and we have brought it back to the bullpen, but this time in the bullpen, we got a man who made a living in the bullpen and won a World Series in the bullpen, Mr. Clay Hensley, World Series champion, and hometown hero from Pearland, Texas. Clay, thanks for joining us tonight.
How's it going, man? It's been a while, dude. It's been too long.
It has been, I know. Well, you've been traversing the United States. You're busy. You're pickleballing it up across the world. I'm surprised you're not a professional pickleballer at this point.
Well, hey, actually, we are a professional pickleball player. We play with the PBX Tour with the Major League Baseball roster. Yeah, Brad Penny, Kevin Wilson, those guys put together a team for the PBX Tour. And so we've just been honing the skills, you know. I bet the kids that I would make one more professional athletic career before the days are over. And so they said that I could do it. So I went challenge accepted. We made it happen.
I love it. You know, pickleball is a great equalizer. I can tell you I think there's a couple of 80-year-olds at the Lifetime gym that kicked my tail on the pickleball court.
Yep.
It's a very humbling game. But man, Clay, where can they find you on X?
I'm at Clay Hensley on X, and then I'm at C Hensley 32 actually on X, and it's at Clay Hensley on Instagram.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, follow Clay. He's a great guy. He is working in the community. He is in between Pearland and between California. He's just all over the place. Clay, we always enjoyed your analysis on Locked On, so we figured, hey, why not bring you back to the bullpen and bring it back to the good old days, you know?
It reminds me of the good old days getting loose in the eighth and the ninth. But look, hey, it's been a long time. It's always fun to be on Locked On. It's nice to be back on the show with you as well. Yeah,
definitely. So I'll have to tell you this. Before we get started, we interviewed Coach Jay, the head baseball coach at Sam Houston State University, and he invited me to come out and take swings during BP. So I may need your help getting prepped for that because I'm not going out there cold. I haven't swung a bat in a few years, so I might need some tips, or I might need someone throwing to me so I can make it look like I know what I'm doing.
I'm telling you. Well, look, I'll make you a deal. If I get you ready to go out there, I got to go out there with you and hit some bombs.
Yes, definitely. Oh yeah. It will be the Hensley Wheelhouse show, and Wheelhouse will show you how to leg out an infield single like Jeremy Pena, and you can go yard. How's that?
Yeah, I'll show you how to tear a bicep trying to go deep.
Nice. Well, chicks dig the long ball, so why not? I mean, You only live once. But hey, the Astros are on fire. I mean. This year, Clay, has been tumultuous. It has been rife with injury. It has been rife with questioning of the GM, Jim Crane, the manager, Joe Espada. I mean, there has not been a lack of a storyline all season long. So you come out of this drudgery of a really long, extended, slow start, and you get this team on fire. They've on their longest win streak, 8 in a row, 2 sweeps in a row. And a sweep is not easy in baseball because a lot of things have to go right in a 3 or 4 game series.
Right.
So you've been there. You've done that. You've been on World Series teams. You've been on teams that made a playoff run and didn't ultimately win that prize. How do you stay hot in the dog days of summer?
Well, I'll tell you right now, like you said, is, August, when it comes around, it's been a long season. Whether your team's in the hunt or whether they're not, August just seems to be that month where it's just like, your feet are hurting, your joints are hurting, and you got to kind of have to really dig deep, especially when you start moving into September. September, actually, you kind of get like, kind of, I guess, you kind of come out of the haze a little bit because especially if you're a team that's a contender, you can see that there's a finish line there. You know, we've been doing this all year, so you kind of get that motivation going again, and you know, you want to get there. But it's a tough month, man. I mean, you know, look, you played 100 some odd games. It's down to the point of where, you know, arms are getting a little tired, getting a little taxed. You got young guys that are throwing more innings than they've ever pitched.
Yeah.
Had more appearances than they ever pitched. And, you know, that's where, you know, you kind of see it kind of come together for this ball club more specifically, because what they're doing right now, you could, like you said, it's just been up and down. It's been a roller coaster. You know, I think everybody at some point in the front office was on the hot seat here. You know, and almost rightfully so. Look, Houston has expected this team to win. You know, the fans go out there and they've put up such a good product over the last 5-6 years that, you know, it's kind of what everybody's expecting. And it's one of those things that, you know, the expectations might be a little inflated because this team has been great over the last 5-6 years. You know, we're getting the World Series as well. It's one of those things that, you know, I think this team's starting to come together. When you get into September and you start getting into the postseason, the team that really wins this thing, it isn't the team that won all the games throughout the season. It's the team that's firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, definitely. And when we get later into the show, we'll talk about Justin Verlander. We'll talk about Kyle Tucker, the importance of a 6-man rotation. But one of the things that I've seen that this team has done better this year, you remember 23 when it seemed like they would lose every game at home. They actually have a winning record at home this year.
Yep.
You know, outside of that 4-game sweep by the Yankees to start the season at home, which was shocking that they lost all 4 games to them. And of course, the Yankees would go on this tear. They've cooled off a little bit, come down to earth. And hey, a little side note. Did you see that Aaron Judge became the fastest player to 300 home runs in Major League history?
Yeah, I believe it, man. I feel like every time that guy steps out on the plate, I mean, it's either it's a home run or the ball's just hit hard. It's a lot like Barry, to be honest with you. Like every ball that this guy hits up, it's squared up. You know, ground balls or rockets.
Because you played with Bonds.
Oh, well, I played against him. We weren't teammates, but I mean, it's like every time this guy hit the ball, it was absolutely a rocket, right? And, you know, Aaron Judge has got that. And it's funny because Aaron Judge, you know, as good as he is, he's out there telling everybody that Soto's the best hitter in the game.
Yeah. But you know what, though? You want that in your teammates. And
absolutely.
As much as I'm not a Yankees fan, that's just good baseball. You have to respect it. But I loved Eric's counter when I mentioned this earlier on Locked on Astros. He said, well, he's the fastest to 300 until Jordan does it. So, hey, who knows?
Right.
Maybe our guy Jordan, because Jordan's already at 151. He's the 7th fastest to 150. So if he has a couple like super big years, 50, 60 home runs, Jordan could make a case for that.
Yeah, it's very doable for him. Very doable for him in this park too, as well. I mean, the advantage of playing at Minute Maid, you know, helps with that. But I mean, look, to be honest with you, I think every ball that Jordan's hitting right now out would go out at any stadium in both leagues.
Oh, he's hitting lasers. He hit a missile in Arlington. It was literally a line drive, and I was like, okay, that's gonna hit the base of the wall. Nope, it went over the bullpen.
And that's those guys, man. They backspin that ball, and it just sits there, and it just stays flat, and it just goes, man. Him and Stanton's the same way over there with New York as well. Their angle of attack, it's a lot of fun to watch those guys hit, man.
It is. So, is there a formula though to this to staying hot, or is it you literally just have to go one game at a time? Before you answer that, because you had mentioned the innings thing. So Taylor Scott, who has been really the MVP of the middle relief guys.
Yep.
Clay, he's got 100, I think 101 or 102 innings now in his career. 59 of those innings are this season.
Yeah.
So he's pitched over half his career is in one season. You have Ronel Blanco, who could touch 170 to 173 innings pitched.
Right.
This guy's never pitched a full season. You've got Hunter Brown, who again will go his max. Last year, he fell off at the end, and he admitted in spring training he didn't realize that his arm being tired messed with his mechanics.
Absolutely.
But he looks dialed in. Him and Fromber are dialed in. Is there a formula to this, or do you literally just have to come to the ballpark and you just have to, you know what, I've got to give my best performance, and we just got to make sure we don't empty the tank so we got enough to, to come back tomorrow?
Well, I don't know. I got a couple of thoughts, I guess, on that. The reality of it is that I think that you're seeing a benefit also of the younger guys, like Brown and those guys that were running out of gas last year. They go in the offseason and they're like, we're not going to let this happen again, because if you're a guy that's going to be counted on in the front end of the rotation, you're going to have to throw some innings in. So I think that was a little bit of a learning curve for him, which is, and I think that he took that to heart, went in the offseason and did a little extra, training that you needed to do to be able to go out there and pitch 200 innings. And that's what you're going to have to do. If you're going to win, especially if you got that caliber stuff and he's throwing the ball well, then they're going to put him out there and they're going to want him to eat those innings up. I think the same with Blanco. I'll tell you right now, Raniel looks, he's very, he doesn't look like he's taxed at all right now.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like he came into the season in pretty good shape, trying to make a statement, and he's done that. But yes, look, the recipe of this thing is you got to have, your pitching's got to be healthy. And I think we saw that a little bit last year with the rotation, where it was kind of piecemealed together a little bit. I think everybody was kind of wondering, who was going to make a start on one day, and then given the next round of the rotation, was he going to make the start, or we going to go back to a 5-man rotation? So I think it was a little bit jumbled, right? And you could see how that, effectively hurt, I guess the Astros really going in and taking over the division like they can do. And I think they're doing that this year. And when pitching's healthy, usually all the other stuff starts to fall into place, because you're not having to pull up a lot of that weight, from just defensive plays. Your offense doesn't need to go out there and score 15 runs to get a chance to win. So, right now, look, pitching wins championships, and more importantly, bullpens win championships.
Yeah, exactly. And this team still has the offense to do it. I want to ask you about this. And I didn't mention this before the show, but Yusei Kikuchi comes in, and in Toronto having a terrible year. Now his ERA, if you look at his ERA and you look at the events that happened, you look at his FIP, there were a lot of things that happened behind him that he had no control over. When your defense doesn't play, you give up runs. When your defense doesn't make catches, you give up runs. So your ERA goes up. It looks like you're quote unquote having a bad year, but then he comes here, he changes his repertoire and what he throws. He goes to the changeup. His first start, he produces 26 swings and misses against the opponent, the first opponent he faces. Now he only goes 5 2/3 his first 3 starts. He had 12, I think it was 12-8 or 11-8 and then 5 strikeouts. But Yusei Kikuchi looks like a different pitcher. How much, I guess you could say that the change of scenery has helped him, and he could be a key contributor come playoff time.
Well, look, I don't think that there's something that, obviously the advanced scouting and the front office and the brass saw out of him. And look, I've seen this a million times over. There's certain places that pitchers can go, and it's like, San Diego was one of them when I was there. We would, if you remember back in the day, San Diego would pick up a lot of, guys that, either got released or got DFA'd, but still had some, were young enough to contribute at the big league level, still had maybe the arm. Darren Balsley over there was a pitching guru, right? So he got a lot of guys back on track, and you leave San Diego with a multi-year deal going somewhere else, right? And I think that in this situation with him, look, if it's a change of scenery could be all it takes, or just working with a different pitching coach that says something that resonates and it clicks again. So I think that, you hear some of the talks and stuff, and they're talking about, we haven't seen him pitch like this in, some time, but that, you go from a club where maybe you're not mixing in the locker room very well, or there's some issues there, which makes it really tough to go out and play and have success. So I don't know if that's the case. I'm not saying that is by any means, but there's a multitude of reasons of why a guy can just, literally pack up his bag, go across the diamond and get on another club and start throwing it,
Yeah. Now, we have a guy named Caleb Ort, and I'm going to throw up some numbers. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I will explain it. Because the Astros pitching department, scouting department, like you mentioned, is very good.
He's another guy too.
Yeah, dude, this guy throws gas. So I'm putting up a graphic right now. If y'all are listening to the show, it's showing his pitch usage. His cutter is actually the lowest it's been in 2 seasons. It's right around 60%. Right. He had gone up to almost 80%. He took his sweeper from 40+% below 20%. And from 2021 down to now, and they had him increase his changeup, which they also did with Ronell, which they also did with Kikuchi, and his cutter and raise that to almost 20%. It's safe to say that the Astros pitching department and scouting are doing their job, because Caleb Ort had really kind of become, he was good, but he wasn't great. And he's really come in and shine. So not just like as a pitcher, when you come in, you're used to throwing something. Is there ever a hit to your confidence, or do you just come in and you're like, I trust these guys. I know they're trying to put me in a better place?
Look, so I think that you get to a point when you're a guy that's struggling a little bit like he was. And the fact of the matter is, look, he's got a live arm, right? And everybody sees that. The guy's touching 100 miles an hour. The other night had a phenomenal game. I personally think, just based on, I can read that sheet right there that you just posted up there. And when you got a guy that throws that hard, look, you have got to increase your fastball usage, right? And then a great pitch, especially when you're throwing that hard, if you have a good changeup, Trevor Hoffman made a pretty dang good career doing that, right? And he didn't throw nearly as hard as Ort does. So I like this guy, I do, and I think that another guy that is going to benefit from the change of scenery is him. Obviously, you talk to the guys over there at Boston and whatnot that have seen him pitch, for a long time, and they were said that this is the best they've ever seen him throw.
Wow!
Whenever he came in, and that's telling you something right there. That is a kudos to the scouting department that Houston has, and what they see in a guy. You can literally see a guy like this that may be going out there and throwing 99 miles an hour, but he's just dumping a bunch of sliders and cutters all day long. There's pitching coaches out there that love that. They think that, hey, he's going to get the bat off the ball, get the barrel off the ball. In reality, though, you got to stick to your fastball. Your fastball is your best pitch, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you throw 84 or you throw 104. You got to establish that pitch because it opens everything up. I personally believe that when you're coming in and you're throwing like a sweeper or you're even throwing a cutter, you're getting on the side of the ball a little bit. You're turning your fingers like this. You have to manipulate it to a certain degree, right? Well, if you want that ball to kind of come in late and then cut across the plate, maybe have some depth to it. Those are all pitches that you're not necessarily behind the ball like you are a fastball. Now, like you get your changeup, you're right behind it again. That's a pitch that you can emulate really well, same arm speed, same arm action, that you should be able to fill the strike zone with. And if you have, even a 5 to 8 mile per hour disparity between the velocities on this, then it's an effective pitch. Once you get that pitch, it opens up your slider. Now your slider and your sweeper. Now you have a third and fourth pitch that you can open up. This is what the whole chess match is when you're pitching, right? But if you don't establish that fastball, it really doesn't matter. The guys will sit on the other pitches. They get paid a lot of money to hit. So the reality of it is, I think that he got to Houston, had some maybe a little bit mechanical adjustments is what I've been told. And, look, if I was throwing 99 miles an hour, there was a time when I did throw hard. I didn't throw anything but fastballs. And that's what I'm sure that hey, let's establish this fastball, mix the changeup up, and let's start working the other pitches whenever we can get there. But I think his fastball usage, he needs to go out there and throw 70% fastballs until they show him they can hit it.
Exactly. And, growing up and going through the ranks, when you're younger, you see guys that are called junk ball pitchers, and they survive through high school, maybe college, maybe into the lower levels of the minors. But when you get to the upper levels, you're right. That fastball, you establish yourself with the fastball. Now, the importance of a 6-man rotation, if we look at it right now, and this isn't in any particular order, you have Justin Verlander, Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown, Spencer Arrighetti, who was the first pitcher in American League history to have 20-plus strikeouts 2 starts in a row. Then you have Blanco, you have Kikuchi. How important is it for these guys to get Justin Verlander in there as soon as he can to have a 6-man rotation going into the playoffs?
Well, look, a 6-man rotation is where it's at these days now, especially these guys going to the playoffs, because you get an opportunity where you can it opens up the ability to utilize the bullpen and run a starter back there. If a guy starts to struggle in the first inning, you can get maybe the 5th or the 6th starter of that rotation can kind of come in and cover innings. When we won the World Series in 2012, it was because of Lincecum. He got bumped to the bullpen, and there was a couple starts that I think even Bumgarner got knocked out early in the first or second inning. And Timmy, you got Cy Young coming out of the bullpen covering 7 innings, and then he gets you to your 8th and 9th. That's and you see a lot of managers doing that these days, right? And so, I think it's great. Like, look, if you can add to that arsenal, like I said, pitching is going to win this thing. The guys are going to go out there and hit. But if you're not holding runs, or you're not and you're not giving up, you're giving up home runs, or you're giving up a bunch of runs to the opposing team, it doesn't matter how many runs your team scores. You got to hold them. So I think that having those weapons, having that experience with Verlander coming in there, and I think Arrighetti continues to just go out there and just be locked in on what he's doing right now. Don't change anything. I'm sure that he's kind of like one of those situations where you have the younger guys in there. It's like, I'm just gonna keep my head down and do what I got to do, and he's doing a great job at it.
No, yeah, definitely. I actually got to talk to Arrighetti before the season started. Got to talk to Joe Espada before the season started, and I was just really impressed with his makeup. Like, he came in knowing his place. I mean, this is a kid that grew up. He's from Katy. He grew up watching the Astros. He grew up idolizing this team. Now he's a part of it. But he's really come in, and I don't know if you've noticed, I look at a lot of players' body language. He exudes confidence, and you need that in a young starter, especially when you have veterans, stalwart veterans like a Valdez, especially like someone like a JV, a perennial first ballot Hall of Famer. And I think that helps. Blanco sees that. Hunter Brown sees that, and they seem to energize each other. And I don't know if you saw the first day that Kikuchi arrived in Minute Maid Park. He parked himself right in between Valdez and Blanco and the pitching staff in the dugout and was cutting it up with them. And I think, like no other team in baseball, Houston just has a great clubhouse culture.
Right. Look, and that's the biggest piece right there, the chemistry and the culture that's in the locker room. The thing is you can tell that it's on point because, like you said, when you have these guys that are coming in that are new to the club and they're mixing in like that, they're feeling welcome like that, it makes for that transition, which is a hard thing to do. Okay, look, I've been traded before, and I literally got traded from San Francisco to San Diego as we were playing them, and we're playing. It was a getaway day, and literally grabbed my bag and walked across the field and got on their bus, got on the plane, and it was just like a whole new place, right? And so you gotta adapt very quickly, right? Well, a lot of that, being able to adapt quickly as a new player coming in, is really kind of contingent on the culture in that locker room. How the team is, and it's. I'm telling you right now, look, when you're in a ball club that either maybe struggling or have the culture in the clubhouse isn't on sync or in sync there, those teams aren't going to win. They're not. Guys play better when they're loose and they're comfortable with their teammates. I'm not saying comfortable with the game, comfortable with their teammates, because those are two different things. I think when you see these young guys with some of the veterans that Houston has, look, it was always a situation of, when the young guys come in, and when I was a young guy, it was like, you can either come in and you can have it all figured out, and you can say, not really kind of do your own thing, and it's not really going to go well. Or you can put your head down, look at the veterans, look at the guys in their work ethic, follow suit, and know your role, and go out there and just keep your mouth shut, be a part of the team, and like we always say, I'm happy to be here, whatever I can do to help this club win.
Exactly, I love it. Before we move on to our next segment, I just got to mention that if you want to, you can get your Back to the Bullpen t-shirt with Mike and Brett right there with that QR code. You can go get that from Ram Shirts. We do come to you live from the Ram Shirt Studios every single show. And also, you have to check out state-of-the-art barbershop in Friendswood, Texas, 1616 South Friendswood Drive. Tell them that state-of-the-art. Tell Ever and his crew that Back to the Bullpen sent you. Get 10% off discount your next haircut. Go check out Ever if you want to get high and tight. And look, you can wear this out on the date when your cut is good. So why not look good with Back to the Bullpen gear? So check that out. But Mike couldn't be here tonight, but he said he told everybody hi, and he was glad, Clay, that you were coming on to talk with us. He said, man, we'll have to do it next time when all three of us can talk shop, because that'll be really fun. Now,
yeah.
Let's get to the more painful side of the news. That is, I guess Justin Verlander's not a painful part, because he actually pitched tonight, 57 pitches, 41 strikes. He had 5 strikeouts and 4 innings pitched, and he gave up he had 2 earned runs. So, he didn't have a bad outing. I think with the 57 pitches, because Espada said he wants him to go 75, I think he'll probably get one more rehab start before he goes out there. Before he hits the club. It was his second start. His first start, he had 35 pitches. He's now up to 57. I think if he gets a 75 the next start, I think then he joins the club. But so maybe. Justin Verlander is methodical. And one thing I learned about him is he's all business. This dude, he is when I was sitting there with him, asking him questions with other members of the media, it was like, you better have a serious question. And you better ask it quick because he's got stuff to do. And, because he's all about the work. The next box he has to check after this start, and you probably remember this if you in your career when you were injured, the box that you check that's most important is how do you feel the next day?
Right. Yeah. Look, I think at 57 pitches, I think he's probably it's really going to be his call, right? Because he knows his body well. And he's been at the game long enough to know whenever he's ready or not. I think 75 pitches, I'd like to probably see him maybe go twice at 75, 75 one game and then go another 75 plus. That way you don't get in a situation where he does come back to the ball club and, the game happens to dictate him being out there for 100 and something pitches, right? So that's a significant, difference in pitches. So, it might increase a little bit, but I think it's really going to come up to him. I mean, he may do something where it's a 75 pitch game and then come up, meet the club and do a simulated game for 100 pitches and then be ready, 5 days after that. Who knows? Sure. But I think that he knows his body well. We as an athlete and, as a player, you get really in tune with what's going on with your body, what you're putting in it and everything that, you can tell right away when something's wrong or when you feel like you're good to go. You're absolutely correct. It's going to really come down to how's he feel tomorrow? How's he feel, the next day? And it seems like he's, kind of checking those boxes off each time. So I think Houston's ready for this guy to get back and, it's just going to be an added boost for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And Kyle Tucker, I guess the painful news I was referencing earlier, this guy fouls a ball off of his shin. And if you just take a deep dive into the, into the internet and look up Google and you look up bone bruise, I mean, these things can go on between 3 months to a year. His was really deep. We talked about the swelling of his knee, of his foot. Now that stuff's gone, but Brian McTaggart, it was almost like he was releasing some like TMZ footage of a player. It's like, here's Kyle Tucker out on the field. And so you would see the strength and conditioning guy do high knees, and then Kyle Tucker's high knees look like what my son was doing when he was 8, 9 years old, like high knees Little League field. And you could just tell, like, man, he's still not comfortable. Right. So my question to you is, and I think he makes it back before the playoffs, but is Kyle Tucker coming back? Is that a must for the Astros to make a deep playoff run?
I think, look, it's hard to say right now, right? You asked me that question a month ago, and we would have been saying, like, June 19th when they were 10 games down behind Seattle, in the division. Well, I think we would have been like, we're not going anywhere without Tucker, right? And he is just as much of a force, I feel, out there as Jordan is, right? A guy that can come up, and he did it so many times in the past where he can change the game in one swing of the bat. I think that in order for Houston to go out and win in the postseason, I think that you're going to need Tucker back. Is it going to be the reason that they do or they don't? I don't necessarily know yet, but because everybody right now is hitting the ball well.
Yeah.
You got guys in the lower part of the lineup starting to go deep now. Driving the ball. People are hitting the ball hard, even if they're hitting it on the ground. You're watching these guys take their at-bats, and they're starting to feel pretty dang comfortable out there. They're starting to see that finish line in terms of like, hey, we just made up 10 games inside of 30 days, which is very tough to do, especially in this division. Yeah. And
I think there's only like 2 other teams that have done that in the last 100 years. So
I mean, think about that. Out of all the games every year, there's only 10 teams that have done that, right? In 100 years. So they've done that. So you have, I guess, so that you have that magic in the lineup right now, right? Is Tucker something that would absolutely help this lineup? Of course. I think it's one of those things. It's like if I'm a pitcher facing this lineup, looking at it right now, these guys are on fire. If you add Tucker in their game tomorrow, I'm like, dang it, this is who are we going to get out in this lineup, right? And so there usually you have some holes in a lineup that as a pitcher that if you start getting beat by some guys, that you can attack a certain guy a certain way to get out of an inning. But right now, from top to bottom, these guys are raking.
Yeah, and you and I talked before the show started, and you had mentioned this, and I want you to expand on this a little bit. When Kyle Tucker does come back, the question then is, when he comes back, is he like King Tuck? Is he the Kyle Tucker, right? When he's out there on the field, like how how much has this injury affected his swing, maybe chasing down the ball, because he's an aggressive right fielder. And
right.
So that right there, yeah, he could come back, but you also don't know what he's going to do on the field, because he's going to want to perform well, but coming back from this, it may take even longer once you're even on the field.
Well, look, and that's the other thing too. I think that everybody's asking, why is it taking them so long to get back up there? Because they're just thinking about the ABs, right? But like you said, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You got to be able to play that position, and he plays that position really well, right? So he's a guy that's a big piece in their outfield that they're missing right now. So the last thing they're going to do is have him come back, and I think the delay that's actually taken a lot of this time, and as you're seeing on the clips of him doing agility drills and whatnot, is making sure he can actually run these balls down. It's not going to do anybody any good if he's out there playing and not able to perform at the level that King Tut knows how to perform at. But I think the expectation of him going out and being King Tut, look, historically speaking, we're talking about a guy who's always had a slow start.
Yeah.
Right. And he's been out for some time. It really boils down to how much live action he's seeing. But honestly, look, this guy can roll out of bed and put the barrel on the ball. I think that the expectations of him coming out to be King Tut right out the gates and when he's on fire wouldn't be realistic. But I think if he came out and was added to the roster or added to the lineup and was just at least hitting the ball hard, that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see him hit the ball hard, even if it was for outs on the ground, hard hit balls, and being able to leg it out.
Well, another aspect of him coming back into the lineup, if he's able to play, is you could sandwich him into like in between two very hot hitters. And then you're going to have to pitch to him because you don't want to you could put Yordan behind him. And then, because Yordan's behind Bregman, you could put Diaz behind him. Yep. Well, if I walk Tucker, I've got to face Diaz. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take my chances with Tucker because he's coming back. He's been off all this time. And he may get more of an opportunity to see pitches that are, no pun intended, in his wheelhouse.
Well done there. That's a great plug right there. I love it. That was pretty slick. Now, look, that's one of the things that, he was actually hitting the ball really well the last few years because there was protection in that lineup. I mean, there was, I think it's even bigger now, right? So I think that you're absolutely right. I think that if he was in a situation where he got sandwiched between those two guys, or was he, in between Bregman and Yordan, he's going to see a lot of fastballs. He's going to see a lot of strikes, and that's a good thing for a guy like him to maybe get the wheelhouse turning. You know what I mean? Get it going. So
that's right.
Back at you.
We got some hunters on here. Our guy David says, "You're a hunter. I shot a 4-point mule 2 years ago, a lifetime in a lifetime buck." And then right here, he says, "Hey, where'd you get that buck, Clay, behind you?"
Oh, that one's off our ranch. So we got a ranch in outside in the hill country, outside of Uvalde, that we do a lot of hunting. We got a lot of access up there, and we got a family ranch down in South Texas that's fully game managed, where we take people out hunting. We do some cool stuff with our charity, but we got some pretty good animals down there, exotics and some zebras, oryx, you name it. So if you want to come down and hunt, let's do it.
So hey, why don't we do this? I'll get you to BP at Sam Houston State if you bring me hunting. How's that?
Deal. Even Stevens.
I love it, man.
Anytime I can get out and guide somebody to hunt, man, I'm always down to do it. So
yeah, man,
let's do a lot of stuff with our charity with that.
Because I've only been hunting once, and I'm a crack shot, 1 shot, 1 kill. So there you go.
Hey, that's a pretty good. Hey, I don't know if you want to mess with that record right now, though.
That's true. I might want to retire, kind of like I retired from football with a 5-yard average per carry career, 2 carries for 10 yards in 8th grade football. I retired with more yards per per game than Eddie George. So,
well, that was a longer career than I did because I had a decent arm, so they had me go try out. Same thing in 8th grade, and I went out as a quarterback, and I think my career numbers are like minus 30 yards, and I was seeing snot bubbles after I got laid out. So I told him, I said, like, that's it. I'm going to pitch. We don't get hit like this there.
So you're saying there's not a Clay Hensley quarterback jersey hanging in the athletic area anywhere, like memorializing your great QB career?
Maybe on the quarterback side of what not to do, who not to be, right?
Right.
There might still be blood on the jersey.
Yeah. Well, hey, Clay, this has been great. I'm really glad you came back. We definitely will have to make it a little bit shorter time span between now and the next time you join us and get you and Mike on. It would be great to have 2 World Series champions, 2 former players on here. But
we're already printing the shirts right now. So they're printing the shirts. Yeah, they're adding the name, I guess, right next to the baseball right there.
That's right. But yeah, man, this is good. I appreciate it. Thank y'all for tuning in, Clay. We're almost up to 1,000 subscribers on Back to the Bullpen. We just reached over 600 this last live show. Right now, we got almost 200 people watching live here on YouTube. So this is a good thing. We appreciate y'all. Any final thoughts about the Astros going into this series against the White Sox, which I think they should absolutely sweep this team?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a ball club right now that when you're playing the way that the Astros are playing right now, these are the teams that you need to go out and beat, right?
Yeah.
And look, if they went out there and they put together another sweep to open up this homestand, I think that's the kind of confidence builder the team is going to continue. Like, hey, we're doing some special stuff right now. Look, the 10 games inside of 30 days is a big enough feat. That just shows them right there that we can do this. We can get there. So, look, I think they're going to continue to keep mowing down the opposition. I'd like to see the hitters continue to do what they're doing at the plate. Pitchers have been doing a great job. The additions of Verlander coming back hopefully sooner than later is going to be great for the team. So, I'm looking forward to it. And, look, thanks to everybody listening live on the show. And, hey, just get a hold of this host right here. Tell them to start having me more on a regular time, right?
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, it has, man. All right, Clay. Well, thank you. Thank y'all, everyone, for joining us right at 201 right now. At the closing mark, but thank you so much. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. We're coming to you live from the Ram Shirt Studios. He is Clay Hensley, and for standing in for our guy Mike Stanton. You know what we always do? We always take it back to the bullpen, and as always, go Stros.
Cheers, brother.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking